Okay, welcome to another morning meditation. Let's all start with 10 minutes of either surrender or self-inquiry, whatever you prefer, or any mix of the two. when you go deep into these practices, your concentration is, more and more continuous. What you find is, what you will find if you haven't found it yet is, you go to a place where you are happy, but you don't know that you're happy. You are, but you don't know that you are. So that there's that difference there. It's just like, in that sense, there's a difference, but there's an analogy definitely to deep sleep. And Ramana talks about this, right? That the natural state is waking deep sleep. And then that's the analogy. Because see, these propositional knowings, like I want to know, oh, am I happy right now? As soon as you know, oh, I feel happy, I think I'm happy, I reflect on myself as happy, you've already exited that, essentially. So you want to move away from these self-reflective propositions. Anyone want to discuss their experience?
So you want to be believing that you are happy.
No, you don't. Well, you don't need to believe anything, basically. So any belief is like looking, right? A looking at something. You want to let go of that. This happens automatically in the process of inquiry or surrender.
Yeah.
So those kinds of it is like it is like trying to look at yourself while you're trying to fall asleep. Like, am I asleep yet? Am I asleep yet? Am I asleep yet? You're not going to help fall asleep that way. So those things have to fall away.
Nothing new this time. It's every time it's more or less similar.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where it goes. So it's anyway, the thought comes in and then you have to drive back.
Exactly.
And that's the same thing happening every time.
Exactly.
Nothing new here.
Yeah. Good. It doesn't have to be anything new. It's really the same thing again and again and again.
Mostly what to do today, like that kind of thought only, right?
Yes,
What to
correct.
do, what to...
Those are thoughts coming into your mind?
those kind of things. What
Current
next,
activities.
Current activities.
what has to be done.
Yeah.
Very common. That's what happens every time.
Akilesh, what you explained just now, is it you're saying the expectations of happiness out of this practice, that like how you are saying, am I sleeping at, expecting the sleep, to fall into sleep, it is exactly our expectations about the happiness out of this practice you are addressing to?
Yeah, in the sense that, see, when you're asleep, you don't know that you're asleep, in the same way that you know that this table is there. But similarly, when you go deep into concentration in these practices, you're giving up the idea that, oh, I'm blissful right now. That thought that I'm blissful right now, it's not bliss. It's an inferior bliss, you might say,
Oh, okay. That is another thought we are getting entangled
Exactly.
into. You're saying,
Exactly.
be cautious about that.
Exactly, because people want to know, where am I now? Am I feeling good or aren't I? You see, that thought. Because see, again, I talked about this with you, Michael, of course, a couple times, but Ramana gives a great example of ordinary life being like on a hot day running into the sun and then running back into the shade and feeling the contrast, you see, like, oh, I'm in the shade now, and then I run back into the sun. You see, so when you do that and you go back into the shade, you feel the contrast from the sun. Like, oh, I feel good. You know that you feel good because you were just in the sun. If you stay in the shade, as Ramana advises, you'll quickly forget that you're in the shade. You don't feel the pain, so you don't feel the pleasure either. The bliss of staying in the shade doesn't feel like anything, but it is bliss. Yeah, that's the nature of the self. It doesn't feel like anything in particular. That's bliss.
You get used to that environment, and then you don't feel the goodness of it.
Exactly, precisely. So people want to feel the goodness, but in order to feel the goodness, you have to feel the badness.
It's interesting that you say that, because I've noticed that I always try and kind of categorize or claim the thing that's happening. Like if there's lots of peace or it gets deeper, I'm always trying to kind of label it,
Uh-huh.
but that's been dwindling away more and more, and at first it's quite uncomfortable. Like, because I want to kind of claim that I'm doing it right, or
yes, yes,
like have
yes.
something to hold on or
Yes.
put the flag in.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And stack up like a narrative,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
memory, and like conception and trajectory, right? But all these things like time, space, history, all these things fall, right? So you can't say, that's why they, say you can't say what's going on, really, You're there, but you can't talk about it, because those are all conceptions that you're letting go of.
So it's like deep sleep, it's a fact, not an experience.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it is an experience, it's just not an experience, it's not a it's not a reflected upon experience, you might say, But of course, again, the key difference between this and deep sleep is that you are awake. You're awake while this happens, so it is different. It is different than that way. But there is, that the sort of network of, because when you look at yourself, right, you're like, am I this, am I that? You're not really looking at yourself. What you're looking at is a concept of yourself. That's what it is. You're looking at an image of yourself. You can, if necessary, construct an image of yourself to look at it. And that's what we're trying to get away from. That's the images of yourself are not you. That's the basic idea.
Normally when you search and even when you want the feel of the eye, you know that the eye is going to be a feeling. At least that's what is described. Right?
Sure.
So when you search for it, you see only the knowledge is what is there. You cannot see any feeling, right? Try to feel the feeling. So you keep doing that. So when you don't know what it is, that's where you're stuck. What to do there, right?
Yeah, I mean, again, so when you don't know what it is, again, it's I who doesn't know what it is, right? So I is there somewhere in some form, Again, feeling, but the feeling becomes so subtle.
Right.
It can barely be called a feeling. It's
Existence.
It's something.
Yeah.
It's something you're experiencing, and it's non-local. That's the problem. It's not actually in a particular place. It's coming from somewhere, but where is it?
You try to describe. There are so many ways to describe it. Say everywhere, universal, life.
Yes.
In Tamil literature also, it is described in so many different ways. So you try to correlate all of them together into this feeling.
Yeah, I mean, you're best off not trying to correlate exactly, but rather, see, you have direct access to it. That's the key point. You have to start with the base fact that I am getting this information internally. Like I'm just like, well, not just like, but similarly in some way to like the way you get information that I'm touching something, I'm feeling something, I'm feeling an emotion, right? You say I feel angry, right? Like this is an inner experience. So it's just like that. I mean, not exactly just like that, but it's similar, right? So that's where you have to go, right? All the descriptions are like, they're like a botanical guide, like, okay, like this particular species of plant has this many leaves or whatever it is, but fundamentally, the botanical guide, cannot replace looking at the plants in front of you, so fundamentally, you have to go back to the basic fact of your own experience of it. Like you're experiencing it. It has to be there somewhere. Like I know I'm here. That information has got to be coming from somewhere.
So you have to ignore the descriptions of scripture.
Yeah, descriptions are there. They're going to be in the back of your mind. Because they're there to train the mental eye. So when you like come closer to it, you think, oh yeah, I can see what they mean now. Oh yeah, it's everywhere. Yeah, I get it. That kind of thing. But it cannot replace fundamentally it's starting in just that ordinary. That's the base always. You have to go back to that because that's right here. It's right here. Like I'm literally, I'm experiencing I now. But where? How? I don't know. It's amazing, right? It's amazing that it's right here, and yet we have no idea what it is.
I did surrender in the 10 minutes, and this has been happening a bit more lately, but the words like just be or be still, like Ramina's words, they kind of end up where I sit. And there's vigilance of like not falling out of that.
Yes.
But it's simplifying.
Yeah.
It's just be or just still, and I kind of, those words give me a nice anchor of just kind of keeping it going but lightly.
Yes,
so I was
yes.
sitting with just being.
That's great. Well, I always say about just be, like that is Ramanuja's signature phrase, just be, Chuma Ira. But, I always say, right, so like the being part is very easy, I mean, you can't help but be, right? It's the just part, that's the key operative, key operative word in this phrase.
And that's where the vigilance comes in.
That's what surrender is saying, right? Don't do the other stuff, right? Being is automatic, only do that automatic thing. All the other things abandon.
Correct. Everything is practice only. Only practice will enforce that. Ramana has said that also, right? The more you practice only, you will realize it will stabilize.
Yes, 100%, 100%. The practice is everything. The practice is the teacher. The practice will educate you, will take you. Practice is God, basically.
And I find when I'm doing
In
it.
this,
Go
in
ahead.
this context, Akilesh, I have a doubt. See, my way of handling any, situation in the life, if some adverse thing is happening, I do as much as I can to solve the problem. If it is not possible, sometimes still the worry will linger on to your mind. To escape this, I usually take my passion, something like gardening, traveling, all these. But I'm thinking this in perspective of our practice, surrenderness. So if I pursue these with a mindset of surrendering, somebody, like a student is taking this act and detach myself, is that okay? Or still these are getting into more attachments, or still I can practice surrenderness doing like this kind of extra passions, like whatever I want to pursue.
Yeah, so the way I would say it is, see, look, from a strict surrender or self-inquiry point of view, one does the practice of surrender, right? And surrender says, I'm ignoring everything, and I'm relaxing, right? So when one ignores it, when one ignores everything and relaxes, that doesn't necessarily mean that the body and the mind will not do anything. The body and mind will do things, but you, what feels like you, is giving up control over what those activities will be.
Okay.
Right? So if one surrenders, one says, this is all irrelevant, I'm not making any decisions, what feels like me is not making any decisions, what feels like me is not putting any effort into the world. And only what happens spontaneously, involuntarily, seemingly accidentally, these things will happen. Now, that could include gardening and any other passion, traveling, whatever the passions are. The thing is, you can't dictate that will be what happens. So it may be what happens, it may not be what happens. You may just be sitting there. So that's the strict surrender perspective. Now, that said, right, like I'm sure I said before, one may not be able to stay in strict surrender or strict inquiry. One may have to deal with various psychological issues. And that means that, what it means is basically, if you cannot pursue the practice, you may have to work on your mind and how to make it quieter. Now, as part of that, if you're not doing surrender, you can nevertheless decide, like, oh, I'm a happier, more mentally quiet person when I do some gardening, when I do some traveling. And you can do those things, hopefully with a karma yoga kind of mindset. And that will help you come back to the point where you can do surrender or inquiry. So those are two different options. Do you see that? So in surrender, those things could happen, but they're not under your control. They might happen, they may not happen. Other possibility is you say, I'm not ready to surrender or inquire fully. I need to make my mind more quiet. As part of that, I'm going to decide I need to live a lifestyle where I'm doing more of what I want to do. And those things include gardening and traveling. And so I'm going to do those things. So that's also acceptable. That's part of that mind quieting process to become like living closer to what you really want to do, basically. Does that make sense?
Yes.
It is, I understood. It's again, I can take it as an intermediate step
Yes.
to get there.
Yes, exactly.
Thank you, Akilesh.
Sure.
Yeah.
You had a question? Someone else had a question? You got a question? Nick?
Yeah, so with the just being and the be still, I just wanted to share something that happens a bit. And it is me now reflecting on an experience. But at first it's like doing the just being, but then there are these flashes that happen where it's as though I'm inescapably the fact of just being.
Yeah, right. That's a little glimpsey moment, yeah.
Like there's nothing to, even if I'm not just being, I'm just being.
Yeah,
Or
that's
even
right.
if I'm not being still, I'm
Correct,
being still.
correct, exactly.
So that is happening.
Yeah, that's a little glimpse. Those are little micro glimpses, because that is the truth. You are just being. That is you. Everything else is delusional. Like that's the truth. Yeah.
But even the original action of just being is seen to be less just being than what I am.
Yes.
Does it make sense? Okay.
Yeah. Because you're what we're doing in the practice, right? Effectively, especially with surrender. Especially with surrender is we're pretending to be like what we already are. We're pretending to be, I'm going to do this thing called surrender, right? Which means I'm not going to do things. I'm not going to ignore things, right? But that is actually our actual nature. Is we are, in fact, that which is truly speaking uninvolved. That which is truly speaking ignoring everything. That is the nature of the self. So we're aping that. Like an example I use sometimes is like, imagine you were, I probably said this a year or two ago, I forgot, but imagine you delusionally thought you were in Argentina right now, okay? You really believed you were psychotic. You believed you're in Argentina, and I said, look, let's pretend you're in Menlo Park. You're gonna behave as you're gonna act as if you're in Menlo Park. You're gonna pretend you're in Menlo Park. I mean, you are in Menlo Park. Like that is, whether or not you believe it or not, you are in Menlo Park. So this is kind of what's happening. We're like living by what the truth is actually. Whether you believe it or not, you are that. So yeah, exactly. That's right.
Yeah, it's a really good example.
Huh?
How do I distinguish between true surrender and the mind thinking it is surrendering?
Well,
how do I test it whatever?
you're gonna have to see. It's kind of going to be retrospective, right? You're gonna see like where did your mind go? What actions happened over time? Look, it's the key point is how much attention are you able to see, even if it's not correct surrender exactly, which in fact, the truth is all the practice is going to be flawed. The effort to do the practice itself, the largest component, even if it isn't exactly correct, But look, as you do it, you're going to be informed by, you're going to see, like, oh, in certain situations I thought I was doing it, but I was really quite tense. Other times when I'm doing it, I'm relaxed. So like, that's going to give you a guide. Like, oh yeah, like this is closer. That was less close. So there's going to be internally constructed guide to what feels more peaceful, basically, essentially.
Okay.
Yeah, does that make sense? Because that is what's going to happen, right? In surrender, you are going to say, I thought I was doing surrender. I wasn't really doing surrender. Now I'm doing surrender. And then 3 days from now, it'll be like, no, now I'm doing surrender. That wasn't surrender either. It's going to be like that. So
it's a feedback loop.
it's going to be a feedback loop, exactly. And what will tell you, what it is as the mind becomes quieter. As the mind becomes quieter and more is relegated or seen as out there. More and more of what's inside is like, oh, this is also that. Ignore.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's like, you're seeking really, this sort of like there's a wall and there's like a small hole in the middle or something like that. You're like seeking this hole, it's like, can I find it? By ignoring, right, essentially, even by inquiry, same thing, you're looking for this, it's I'm gonna use reusing all my metaphors, I can't help it, but I like this metaphor of there's a painting, okay? There's a painting, and in the middle of it, there's a small dot, which looks from a distance like a piece of white paint. just like the rest of painting. Just looks like, if you look very, very, very closely though, this is not actually paint. It's a small puncture in the canvas through which light from behind the painting is coming through. So this is sort of like the ego thought, quote unquote, right? When mixed with the surrounds of the painting, it looks just like the painting, indistinguishable, right? You have to come extremely close and block out mentally all the rest of the painting and finally go, oh, this is not white paint. This is a hole. It's a hole, and you go through the hole, right? That's the idea. It breaks, basically. It breaks the illusion of solidity that the ego sustains by its association with other thoughts. All right, let's do more practice. Let's do another 10 minutes together. So I think I should add that it's interesting because when you do surrender, though I said saying previously you are trying to come into a state where essentially one is not self-reflecting. There is, with the vigilance you have, a small piece that is a little self-reflective, from which you're bringing yourself back again and again and again. Because what happens is if you don't have that little piece, a little bit of self-reflection to keep bringing yourself back, there's a danger of going to sleep, essentially,
Yes.
which we don't want. Even though it's waking sleep, we don't want total sleep. So, we want to bring ourselves back. Otherwise, you'll disappear into that in a
False
yeah.
bliss.
Exactly, a kind of false bliss, precisely, exactly. And it's
That's very pleasant though.
it's very pleasant. Exactly. No, it's good. It's good in a way. It's just that it's not ultimate. That's all. It's so you have to regard it as an experience as well, and so we're ignoring that as well. And again, this is anyway. If you want to stay in that pleasant place, to bring yourself back a little bit, keeps you there much longer. Basically. Anyone have any comments about their experience?
Understanding much more.
Yeah, good.
I went like what you said, be there, like see Mahapari also says Nanirikkiren, that is his favorite thing. Nanirikkiren means I am here.
Yeah.
Kanji Swami, there is a picture of us in Nanirikkiren here, he'll be in meditation mode. He'll be sitting like that. So I was thinking about that. You were just talking about I am here all the time.
Yeah.
So if you go in with that approach, I try to do it that way. Immediately can go into that bliss state.
Oh, good, excellent.
But unfortunately, I said you're about to sleep.
Yeah, and especially when you are, very peaceful, so it's very easy to go to sleep there, basically. That can also be a useful time sometimes to bring in a little self-inquiry, because self-inquiry again sort of forces the mind to wake up a little bit. Where am I in the situation?
Mostly even when I inquire.
You inquire, you
yes,
come to
internally.
yeah, because they're so similar. That's what happens as you go deeper and deeper, they become very, very similar. But essentially in that bliss to say, where am I in this picture? Where am I? I'm still here somewhere, where am I? And it becomes very hard to differentiate, I know, because the deeper the bliss, the harder it is to see where you are.
You're supposed to wait there, right? That's what he has described. Ramana says that you have to wait until your time comes.
Yeah, true. But but as you wait, you look.
Yeah, right.
That's the waiting. Because otherwise, if you're not looking, then you're falling asleep.
Right.
Yeah. So yes, you're knocking at the door, right? So when you're in that state, you say, where am I? What am I? Or who am I? Or whatever word you don't have to use a word at all. But the point is, you're looking for I in that state. You may not get an answer immediately.
Right.
That's the waiting.
It's frustrating though. We have given up many times like this.
Yeah.
In the last 25, 30 years, every
Yeah.
time, then you go away from it, the practice.
Yeah.
Get back, drag back into the practice again.
Yeah, I know. It's frustrating. It's true, but you're viewing it as knocking on a door, and also, the door will open when the attachments weaken sufficiently.
Right.
Base what it comes down to. So, it's not just intensity in this moment; it's continuity again. That's the.
I don't have the intensity probably. Gita always says you have to have severe intensity to reach there. Otherwise you won't reach there.
Yeah, true. But the severe intensity will come as well when you're able to do it continuously. Because
Right.
what is the opponent of the intensity? It's the attachments.
Right.
Whatever remaining attachments are sapping the energy for the intensity.
Right.
As the attachments drop, more energy and desire is available to fuel the intensity you're talking about. It's like a scale. One goes up, the other goes down.
You were talking about, someone mentioned just before how they can blend, like surrender turns into inquiry.
Yeah.
And what I've noticed is happening with me more and more is I start with surrender, and when I get to that like just be or be still moment, the language shifts and it says like I am this, I am here, to what?
Mm-hmm.
So But it's not like inquiry necessarily. It's more like it's just stating I am stillness, and then that just becomes kind of the phrase that I use, and it just kind of anchors me in this as this. I don't know if that makes sense.
Well, I mean, there I would suggest that whatever it is you're experiencing is a subtle experience still. So it may feel like I am this, but whatever this is at best a reflection still. So you want to ignore that exactly. Yeah, and when you ignore it, you may come right back to it, right? It's like I ignore it and I come back to it. I ignore it, and that's fine, no problem. Because the point is you're still differentiating, and it's like knocking at that door where, you know, eventually the penny will drop. You know, it'll become clear.
Yeah.
But it's good to sort of keep that differentiation going because you know, like, this is somehow an experience. You know, you can't be an experience; it's impossible. So, you know, so even though it feels really good, and it does feel like I am this, but I am this can't be right. This is it's like, again, if you look at it's like if you look in a mirror again, right? You see yourself in a sense, but it's not really the entirety of you. It's you as reflected in this mirror under this circumstance. You know, it's a reflection of you. It's not you exactly. It's a reflection of you. So this bliss is a reflection of you. It's not you. It's a reflection of you. So we don't want to get into the, you know, when you look in the mirror, like, yeah, this is me, but it's not exactly true. This is a reflection of me. So for that to sink in, you know, you have to differentiate yourself even from the bliss states, or even from the states, even from the glimpse states. You know, any glimpse is also.
It's not necessarily blissful. It's more. It just feels like and then it kind of goes away. It's
Yeah. These are, so you can call them little glimpses. But even those, yes, I mean, yeah, it's great. And
keep
you know,
falling back to that.
Yeah, keep ignoring. This is also whatever it is. If it comes and goes, it must be an experience. However transcendent it may seem, it still must be an experience. You know, but it's the right direction. But nevertheless, you have to say no. Like, this is also an experience until we get to something which isn't an experience, can't be an experience, doesn't change, hasn't changed, cannot be taken from you, right? And you know that, right? Essentially, like, until it'll be obvious when that happens, right? The practice will be taken from you, essentially, you know. So as long as you can practice, do practice. And when the practice is stripped from you involuntarily, then it'll be obvious.
and that place that you're talking about, is there always a knowing of it, or it's not going to make sense what I'm saying? Like can it be? Can you overlook it even though it's always the case, or is there always this knowing that I am that which always is, or can there be an overlooking of it once it's clearly seen, like in its finality?
Yeah, see, that would be if it's seen in its finality, then it's how do I put this? The question is mixing perspectives, basically, because what it means to see it in its finality is to recognize I'm not the one who didn't see it, and I'm not the one who wasn't capable of seeing it. So there's, so it doesn't accept that there was any not seeing, ever.
Even if there was seemingly not seeing.
Yes, seeming to who? To whom did it seem like it wasn't seen? And the answer is, you know, to nobody, to a fictional person is the answer, right? Again, you're reading that novel, right? You conjure up in your mind the imagination of a person who's doing the things in the novel. But there's no such person. There never was any such person. And that person does not have a mind. That person does not have experiences. This is the thought of a person. Similarly, there's the thought of a person who doesn't see the self. That's the thought of a person who's ignorant. But there's no such person.
Akilesh, I have a question on curiosity. I wonder sometimes, if, like in psychology, curiosity is highly valued. So my experience earlier was I just had sensations, not even clear images, and it was kind of felt neutral. So it wasn't painful, it wasn't pain or pleasure.
Mhm.
So I became really, really curious. It's like I knew it was an experience, but it's all of a sudden it just like my curiosity came up.
Mhm.
It's like I wanted to, you know, to put a, you know, put a words to that, or you know, to describe that experience, or to try to find out, you know, what that was all about. And so sometimes I feel like curiosity, I'm not sure if I, you know, like, yeah, I don't know if it's helpful or it's a hindrance.
Well, you know, again, it's what I'd say, kind of what I said earlier, which is, you know, again, from the pure spiritual standpoint, curiosity is like anything else, which is an experience. And if one is surrendering, one ignores it. If one is inquiring, one stays with the question of who's experiencing this curiosity. And then when one is engaged in that, the mind and the body, if they want, can nevertheless pursue the inquiry about the curiosity if they want, but it would feel like I am doing the inquiry or I am doing the surrender. But again, if one feels one can't do that, you might need to engage with curiosity because that may be psychologically what you personally need to do. And so it's an individual question whether or not like the curiosity might be indicating something in your mind that needs to be dealt with, you know, before you can proceed really with the practice. So, you know, depends on your particular circumstance. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it comes down to my discernment again. So I was trying to find a clear-cut answer, but yeah.
You can experiment. Look, you can experiment. So, you know, like, you know, that's what I would suggest. If you're not sure what to do, try one and then try the other, right? So you can try, for example, just whatever, surrendering the curiosity or inquiring while the curiosity is happening and see what happens. If the curiosity keeps coming and disrupting your practice, bothering you over and over again, you know, then it might be a sign that you might need to address the curiosity and see where it takes you for a while. And then you can see, like, oh, maybe if I pursue this curiosity, I put my experience into words, does that make my mind feel quieter? Does that help the practice? That's the basic litmus test, right? Is this helping make my mind quieter and ultimately, you know, fueling my motivation to do the practice? Or is it something that is carrying me in some other direction entirely and making my mind more agitated and less interested in the practice? That's, I mean, you can't know in advance. You'll have to try things sometimes to figure out which one is actually helpful.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I also want to ask you about, gosh, it's even difficult for me to describe that. Sometimes I feel like if I ignore something, I feel like I'm being mean. If that makes any sense.
Like a person in particular, probably, right?
Yeah, like if this is somebody, you know, my friend, you know, if my friend tells me about this, you know, if I ignore my friend, you know, that's being mean.
Right.
So, I'm not quite sure, you know, so the word that came up is compassion. So I feel like I'm not being compassionate if I just kind of turn away from pain. You know, it's easier for me to turn away actually from pleasure, but for me to turn away from pain, ignore pain, that's kind of that, you know, there's that kind of judgment in my being.
Well, that is very, I'm glad you pointed that out, you know, and it's very good of you to notice it. That's a important psychological thing that a lot of people have, which is, you know, this sense of duty, the desire to be perceived as a good person, right? I should be compassionate to people, you know, blah, blah, blah. Of course, this ignores the fact that, again, the fundamental basis of the Vedanta inquiry is, again, people don't believe it. They have to do the practice to fully believe it. But, you know, again, you're not this person. So again, it's like, again, you've confused yourself with a character in a movie, you know? And you're like, well, if I just sit here and ignore the movie, won't the person on the screen feel bad? Like the character's friend is going through a tough time, and, you know, I should be there for her. Like, you see how there's a confusion of perspectives, right? Like, you're not on the screen. the friend who's having a tough time on the screen has nothing to do with you. That's what's
Like
happening.
Rama crying.
Does that make sense?
Story.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, because
Yeah.
I know you feel I'm this person, and you feel I have control. We know that's the illusion. So, and so again, right? You know, again, if you can't do the practice, you can certainly go ahead and speak to your friend with compassion and do it in a karma yoga kind of way, which is again, give up the results of the actions mentally. That would be next best. But fundamentally, what surrender and inquiry are pointing out is you're not this person. So you're not in control of what the character does. You have zero control, right? Whether the person that you think you are is compassionate to her friend or not has nothing to do with you. Zero to do with you. It feels like it has everything to do with you, but it has nothing to do with you. So that's something to keep in mind. And again, you know, Shankara in Upadesha Sahasri, one of his texts, he says, you know, duty is a huge binding attachment. Hurts a lot of people on the spiritual path because it's a very like it seems like the right thing to do. I should be dutiful, but actually it's a gigantic chain. And of course, it's based on the idea that you know you're the one doing the duty. You're not the one doing the duty, but because of the sense of you know, I have these duties. I should be this way. I should not be that way. You know, and we believe this is moral, right? That glosses over the fact that we're not the one doing these things in the first place, you know, and it prevents us from seeing that. It's like, oh no, you can't be doing inquiry or surrender. Like, you should be being a nice person to this person, you know. That's your duty, you know. So it shoves you in that way. I mean, of course, duty is required for a while to purify the mind, but once you're trying for surrender or inquiry, you're challenging that notion. So just be aware it's a barrier. It's a barrier.
Yeah, thank you. That was very helpful. Yeah, I've been a very dutiful person.
Exactly.
Friend, you know, my whole life. That's been so-called like a big value for me, right? But I see it's very helpful that you point that out. Yeah, thank you.
Sure. You have a question?
Yeah. So I think one clarification is, there's often a teaching as Advaita Vedanta to while you're engaged with the world, to actively be in the witnessing mode so that you're not losing yourself in experience, but so even interactions with a friend or helping or even performing duties can go on as long as it's witnessed.
Mm-hmm.
And you've not lost yourself in
Yeah,
that role.
that's all.
So wouldn't that also be a helpful practice? Maybe it's very similar, but it's like recovering your attention.
Yeah,
back
I mean,
to
it's
the
like
one who's actually aware of that character doing those things, and the character can be very beautiful, can do ordained duties, can do everything, right? Doesn't have to do that, but it's being watched. It's not lost in the character, you know.
I mean, that's like a quasi quarter surrender or something
Okay,
like that,
I
you
see.
know, because you know, you start to gain if you start watching yourself, right, in the midst of things. If it's just about watching yourself, you'll start to gain certain insights into your mind.
Right.
Okay.
I'm
and
also
that's-
reflecting on my true nature always. So which means as I'm interacting, I'm stepping back.
Yeah.
And I'm actually this, but I'm you're sort of straddling between the two worlds in a dynamic way, but
Yeah.
you're always keeping.
It's like a hybrid half mix. You know, I would say it's more along the lines of like a karma yoga kind of thing.
I see.
You know, because you're doing the thing, but you're trying to keep in mind like I'm not the doer, this is my true nature, and all of those constellation of attitudes. So I would say it's more in the karma yoga field, right? But when you're trying for inquiry or surrender, you're giving up notions of doing. That's the thing. I mean, accept the practice. You know, so that's a much more direct challenge to the attachments, because you're saying, who is it that thinks they have to be, and also even can be dynamically involved in the world? Like, are you in fact capable of being involved in the world? The reality is no. You know, actually, like you are the divine, and the divine merely watches. It's all it can do. It doesn't by its presence things happen. It doesn't require any doing. So, but how do you see that? You have to directly challenge the notions of doership. So dynamic movement is more of karma yoga, I would say, kind of practice.
Like Deva cannot
Yes,
do any action.
Exactly, like a deva, precisely, yeah.
The body has a duty, so it's handled by the prarabdha.
Yeah,
If you are
exactly.
not the body, then you isolate it, let the body carry whatever it has to do.
Yes, exactly. The body has its own, you can say exactly, the body has its own prior stream of causes and effects, which will carry it forward, doing whatever it needs to do.
Whether you like it or not, it's going to happen.
Whether you like it or not, 100%, yes. Yes. And that's why you can relax, and you will see that whatever needs to happen will happen, precisely for that reason.
So the body might show compassion, body might show.
Yes, correct, exactly. If you relax, if you surrender, right, you may find yourself speaking compassionate words, but the point being that subjectively it feels like I'm relaxed, and this is just happening spontaneously. Yeah.
All the problem starts with the body. We think that we are the body. That is ingrained in so strongly.
Of course.
Very difficult to get out of that.
Exactly right. All right, I think we'll call it for today, and there's no satsang this evening, but we'll see you all tomorrow morning. Thank you.